It's unfiltered, it's progressively brewed, it's alcohol-free in Germany. Today, we're drinking Lucky Saint. Hi guys, it's Jim here with another episode of Beers of the British Isles. On today's episode, we are drinking Lucky Saint. Now this beer was suggested to me by one of my subscribers, Brian John. So Brian John, if that is your real name, thanks for the suggestion. I'm sure we'll enjoy Lucky Saint. Guys, if you have any suggestions for me, of course, please do let me know. Always happy to try a new beer suggested by one of you guys. Now, Lucky Saint, you may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it. I certainly hadn't heard of it. It's a 0.5% unfiltered lager. 0.5% beers aren't classified as alcohol-free in the UK, but in many areas of the world, Germany included, which is why I mentioned that earlier, it's alcohol-free. And I guess the reason for that is that the alcohol is so dilute in this beer that even if you drank 100 pints of it, you still couldn't get drunk because the concentration of alcohol in your blood would be so small that you wouldn't have physiological effects from the beer. But the fact that it is 0.5% makes it interesting because it means that this beer was fermented. There are 0% beers out there that aren't fermented. This one, Lucky Saint, clearly was because it's 0.5%. If you do a bit of digging on the FAQs, you find out that they use what they refer to as vacuum technology to remove the alcohol. And basically the way that works is, as you may or may not know, alcohol and water have different boiling points. Alcohol boils at about 86 degrees, water boils at 100 degrees. So if you heat beer up, the alcohol will, of course, evaporate. Heating beer up isn't a good idea. It tends to ruin some of the flavors and you might burn it. So if you put the beer under vacuum, that means that the boiling point of the water and of the ethanol becomes much, much lower. It's the same reason why if you're on top of Mount Everest, water boils at something like 94 degrees. Completely made that number up, but it's lower than 100 degrees anyway because the pressure is much reduced on the top of Everest. All aboard? Good stuff. Right, so that's how they get the alcohol out of there. So we're satisfied, 0.5%. Now that's about the only stat I have on this. I don't have any IBUs. The only other stats I have is that it's fermented at 8 degrees, it's conditioned at 2 degrees, and it's 53 calories per bottle, which is pretty good. I mean, I don't really know how many calories you would normally expect from an unfiltered lager such as this one, but it's got to be more than 53, right? So if you're watching your waistline and you're a designated driver, this could be the beer for you, okay? Now, alongside the facts that I don't have, I kind of did a bit of digging again in their FAQs and found out that the ingredients they have are Bavarian spring water, Pilsner malt. I know they use Pilsner malt, which is good because it's a lager. Hallertau hops, so kind of low bittering, spicy, floral German hops, and single-use yeast, which I thought was an interesting thing to say, that they use single-use yeast. But this is nice. I like this because it means that they kind of proudly on their website say that they follow the German purity laws. Now those have obviously changed over the time, but basically that means that those 4 ingredients, the water, the malt, the hops, and the single-use yeast for some reason, are the only ingredients in there. Because in these alcohol-free beers, sometimes you end up with malt extracts and sugars and caramels and colorings and flavors and stuff. None of that in Lucky Saint. By all accounts, it seems to be a real beer that's just had the alcohol removed. So I'm pretty excited to try this. I'm gonna dive in. But before I do, I'm gonna do something that I'm almost a little bit don't wanna do. On the website, of this beer and brewery. They seem to be drinking it cloudy. The pictures that you see of it aren't of a crystal clear, crisp Pilsner. They're of kind of a cloudy, glowing looking thing. So, though it pains me to do it, before I crack this open, I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a little inversion there, just to get some of that sediment into my beer. You can shoot me for it. I don't really care. Let's dig in. Okay, we are poured in. My lager, my unfiltered lager, is sitting nice and cloudily in the glass. Before we actually drink the beer, I'm just going to give a shout out to the bottle. I really like this bottle. For some reason, it's quite an individual looking bottle, kind of unique. And I just think it's nice. I mean, when I saw it on the shelf, it was instantly attractive to me. Appreciate a good bottle. Back to the beer, back to what's inside the bottle. So it looks good, nice fluffy head, great, just yellow beer. Exactly what I want from a lager. I'm drinking this cold. Anyone that doesn't drink a lager really cold is just doing it wrong. Don't be friends with that person. Okay, so smells like a lager, I guess. Kind of malty. What I am getting is a touch of like a grassy tone coming through in the nose, which is very interesting because those Hallertau hops aren't really known for being super grassy tasting. So, you know, maybe it's the trub that's in there. Who knows? Not bad, quite light. Not so bitter, which is good. But it does have a certain sharpness to it that I do appreciate. I was gonna say my issue, not my issue. My experience with non-alcoholic beers, or low alcoholic beers, shall I say. We're in the UK, it's low alcohol, not alcohol free. My experience with them is that they're often quite sweet because I guess you haven't got the alcohol in there. The yeast aren't able to drive the sweetness down, so you need a touch of sweetness to bring about the malty character in it. But this has a certain sharpness to it. It's not too bitter, like I say. I don't think a Pilsner or a lager should be super bitter, really, but it does have a sharpness to it, and I think that sharpness, like I said, might be that sediment that I sort of incorporated in the glass there before I poured. But yeah, it does has a nice malt backbone, which is hard to find in something like this. A nice malt backbone. A reassuring sweetness for a lager, I would say, but then that sharpness comes in at the back, and that's kind of rounding this off. I know I keep talking about that sharpness, but I think that's really, I don't want to say saving the day because the rest of it's pleasurable as well, but that sharpness really brings this beer to a new level, I think. Right then, Lucky Saint Brewery. Who are they? Where are they? What are they? So Lucky Saint seems to be a brewery that just makes this one flagship lager, which is, fine by me. You see this a lot with kind of lager breweries where, the kind of the macro ones where they just sort of have the one flagship and that's good enough for them. And that's good enough for me. So it was founded in 2015 by self-proclaimed rat Luke Bowes. I believe that's how you say his name, and I don't think the rat thing is as clickbaity as it sounds. He used to play a game when he was a kid where people were either rats or pigs. He's a rat. I don't know the game. I haven't spoken to him. But do reach out, Luke, if you want to chat. So it was founded in 2015. Luke, like all these other people who start these low and no alcohol beer breweries, just wanted something decent to drink without the booze. So he tried to do this in the UK and failed 4 times. I'm not sure the extent of the failures, but I mean, if you're investing 4 times and it's fallen flat 4 times, then that's a lot of dedication to the cause. Then he moved over to Germany, where I guess they hit the nail on the head, and this is where we get our great unfiltered low alcohol lager, Lucky Saint. What I thought was interesting is that in the bio and all the interviews that he gives, it's sort of like he has this dream. He has this grand dream to bring low alcohol lager to the masses, a decent low alcohol lager to the masses. Then he tries and fails 4 times, like I say, and then he thinks, right, I better start learning about brewing, which kind of seems a little bit late in the game for me to be thinking about that kind of thing. But I mean, he's done it. He started it. Great stuff. Well done, Luke. And the product seems pretty good. Like I said, I really like the bottle. The beer that comes inside it is also quite good. And they seem to really believe in the product too, even if they do come across to me a little bit cocky. So they have lines on their website like we're innovating where others aren't, and we're gonna succeed where others don't, that kind of thing. That's simply not true, at least anymore, I don't think. You have a load of breweries out there that are innovating in this low and no alcohol space. So I just don't quite believe those statements. If you do, that's fine. But one of the cool things that I've the realizations I've come to whilst researching this brewery, they have this line that moderation isn't the dirty word that it used to be. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing. So when this brewery was, a seedling brewery in 2015, the low alcohol beer was garbage. There was really only sort of one mainstream low alcohol beer back in 2015 that I can think of. So even though they sound kind of cocky in their description of sort of, we're innovating where others aren't and we're succeeding where others don't, I think back then, that wasn't too far from the truth. And I think that's a real sort of testament to where the low alcohol space is right now. And I think that's really quite cool that there are so many breweries now innovating in this space, and that Lucky Saint is definitely one of them. Okay, then let's bring this to a close. Let's sum up Lucky Saint. So first of all, great color, great head, excuse the glasses, and great bottle, which I really appreciate. The aroma, like I say, the aroma it's got like a subtle maltiness to it. And then, kind of a grassy rumblings in the aroma. The flavor is, first and foremost, you get the malt. That's definitely present. It's not as malty as other lagers might be, but of course it's also not as alcoholic as other lagers that you might have, so there might just not be that much malt in there in the first place. The hops are a real compliment to this. The Hallertau hops definitely work well. A kind of earthy spiciness that they bring to this beer. And like I say, that's kind of it's not necessarily rounded off, but it's sort of juxtaposed against that sharpness that's in there. Like I say, it's not super bitter, it's not bitterness, but there is a certain sharpness to it that I really like, and I think sits quite well in this beer. So when I'm gonna rate this beer, I'm gonna give it a rating of course. But what I'm not gonna do is rate it against other lagers. I don't think that's fair. I think that what I'm gonna do is rate it against other non-alcoholic beers, based on the criteria of, is it worth drinking? So I've gone and bought myself this non-alcoholic beer. I could have had, I guess, a Coca-Cola instead. Is this worth drinking? Does it have biscuit maltiness and citrus hops like the brewery said that it does? The biscuit maltiness, I think, is there. It's very subtle, but it is there. Citrus hops, not sure. And is it worth drinking? Yes, 100%. It's worth drinking. This is an enjoyable drink. I think that the real saving grace here is the unfilteredness of it. I think that really saves the day, because you can read something like unfiltered and just completely bypass it. And sometimes it is just marketing spiel. But I think that here today, in this glass, in this cool looking torpedo style bottle, unfiltered matters. So because of that, on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm gonna give this beer an 8, okay? I like this, I think it's good. I will drink it again, for sure. And as I'm drinking it again, for sure, I'm gonna put on the song Lucky Star by Madonna, because it's a good song. It's a good song, Lucky Star, Lucky Saint, Madonna, Saint. The connection is clear. So guys, head out there, get yourself a Lucky Saint. I don't think this is available everywhere. I got this from Tesco. I know it's available in Sainsbury's also, but I luckily stumbled upon this after Brian John, the subscriber there, recommended it. I wasn't out shopping for it, I just saw it and had to grab it because he suggested it. So definitely go out and grab yourself one and let me know what you think. Let me know if you think this beer is worth drinking, if you think it's a decent beer. I'm not going to say a replacement beer, if it's a decent drink, because I certainly think it is. And, you know, the number of low and alcohol breweries out there is growing by the day. If you like this, maybe explore that space a little bit more, because we could all do with having a good night without a hangover every once in a while, couldn't we? Until then, guys, cheers.